All right, everybody, we are live with episode 26 of Practical Chrome, recording live on Tuesday, June 17th, 2014. That's right, and this episode of Practical Chrome is brought to you by the Effective Group. Do you need a fantastic website that not only looks great on mobiles and tablets, but also you selling online? Then Effective Group is the company for you. Based in the UK, established 15 years, and working across the world, you are really in safe hands. The Effective Group, making the internet work for you. Be sure to visit them at www.effective-group.com. And of course, we thank them for that, although I forgot the logo. Getting really bad at that. That's all right. But of course, you are watching Practical Chrome, and this week on Practical Chrome, we will be reviewing the Acer C720P, the touch model. Now, of course, you know the C720. We all know love that one as a fast Intel-powered performer. But it just gets a little bit better with this P variant. We look at the differences, see how it stands apart, and why these changes are so touching. That's right. We have our hands on the touch model at a sub 350 level, and it is pretty darn cool. It's amazing, actually. Also in the news, we're going to go find out Intel is bringing SIMD to JavaScript. Well, we don't know what that means either, but we're going to tell you how important it is. That and so much more on this episode of Practical Chrome. Thanks for joining us so much, everybody. And of course, my co-hosts, James Welbes and Craig Tumblison. Gentlemen, James, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing good, John. How you doing?
Oh, too good. Too good is what I'm doing. Craig, what about you, sir?
I'm doing great, John.
Awesome. See that? Everybody's doing good tonight. You know why? Because all three of us have had a chance to play with and enjoy a C720P, the touch model available from Acer. It's the bomb, and we're going to review that model. It's so cool. We've got a chance, of course, now to use touch on the Chrome OS. Take a look at it. Kick the tires, light the fires, whatever other rhyming thing I can come up with. But it's been an adventure for me. I can tell you that. But we're going to get into that a little bit. First, we're going to get into some news. News has been a little light this week, but I want to jump into it. You guys ready? You can just nod. I'm nodding. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So the first thing was an article that was brought to my attention, and this is interesting. It's actually, I'm not even sure what this website is, but it's the Intel Open Source Technology Center. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first two paragraphs because I really don't technically understand it that well, but I understand that just like when our folks over Age of Ascent, when they made the performance better for the ARM chips, for the JavaScript for their engines, I think this is kind of the same thing, but it is a joint venture with Google, Mozilla, and Intel. So it's pretty cool. It says basically modern microprocessors parallelism to deliver high performance within a constrained power budget. Through single instruction, multiple data instructions, processors exploit the fine-grained parallelism in applications by simultaneously processing the same operation on multiple data items, delivering major performance improvements at high power efficiency. Now, then on the next one, paragraph says, in an exciting collaboration with Mozilla and Google, Intel is bringing SIMD to JavaScript. This makes it possible to develop new classes of compute-intensive applications such as games and media processing, all in JavaScript, without the need to rely on any native plugins or non-portable native code. SIMD.js can run anywhere JavaScript runs. So I've read down, and it just gets more kind of technical. They go over some things like the speed increases that you're seeing. Literally are like, I think it's like they say something like 400% using this SIMD. So it's just amazing what's coming down the pike on this. Guys, I know you didn't get a chance to read this, but I can't say enough about the future of the web. I think that these technologies are really blasting us, going to send us right through and get us past C and all that good stuff because we can run natively in the browser. Craig, what do you think about stuff like that where the technology really is starting to boom?
I think it's very interesting. We know that Intel, for a long time, has not directly embraced the web. They prefer native code. But this is interesting for a lot of reasons. From my understanding, which is going to be limited, I am not an expert in this field. It seems like they are working specifically to make JavaScript rendering faster. They're doing that through some various APIs at the lower level, some different architectural changes, but the end result is faster JavaScript, which means more frames per second when you're playing games. Web apps will load faster, they'll be more responsive in your browser, and for Chrome OS, that's a major win. It does seem that the performance is actually better on Firefox at the moment, but I don't want to be the person that challenges the Chromium team to kind of take that as a challenge, but I expect that improvements will be made to both platforms shortly to make that gap a little more narrow. But overall, it's a win.
Agreed. James, what are your thoughts on the technology? Do you think it's gonna get as as powerful as native, or do you think we're gonna be kind of happy with having the C programs that are faster, that live in the OSs that are really big and bulky for really fast stuff? Or do you think we're actually going to take the web technologies out there all the way?
I hope that we take the web technologies all the way, and I really think that we will. Stuff like this is like Craig said, huge win for Chrome OS and for the web, really. 400% increases in speed. I mean, that's nothing to shake a stick at, if I'm getting that euphemism correct. That's pretty huge, and I mean, we're getting to the point we could just about play Diablo 2 on a Chromebook if they could get some of these things to go a little smoother, a little faster. Maybe not Diablo 2, maybe Diablo 1. But just thinking back on those games, I realized how much more graphics intensive that is. But the point is, games is where Chrome OS lacks, just because they are very processor and graphics card intensive, and so the more we can do to make these things faster and more power efficient, the closer we will get to be able to play real games on the Chromebook. I know we had a games episode a couple months ago, and now there are some fun games out there for the Chromebooks, but there is a lot of improvement that we can make in that area. So this stuff is exciting. It's not all just for games. It'll make other things better, but for the most part, I think this is going to help the web gaming industry a lot. Agreed.
I wonder, we should probably touch base with the Age of Cent team and make sure that they see this. I'm sure that they're right on the cutting edge, but that's actually going to come up with another news article that I found, and this was pretty cool too. And this was actually a link from the 3JS team, right? So 3JS is a library that allows you to render 3D graphics using JavaScript. And what they had shared with us was that on Mozilla.org, they had a little, I shouldn't say little, I mean, these are two really cool developers that work on the Mozilla team on Firefox OS and Firefox. And one of the gentlemen is actually one of the co-creators of WebGL, and they talk about how virtual reality, and I'm going to have links, by the way, to all the articles that you see are going to be on practicalchrome.com on today's episode, labeled Acer C720P, so you can get all those links. But this one right here, it has this really video, and it's a little bit long, but if it's something that interests you, you could definitely watch it and see how two developers talk about what is the future of the web and VR, because VR has become a popular subject right now, with Facebook buying the Oculus Rift, Sony's getting involved, Samsung's getting involved. They're all kind of getting involved. And these guys even touch on mobile and how that is actually going to become a piece to this, because you can have not just VR but augmented reality, where you're walking around with your mobile device, and then if you have goggles or the Google Glass, you can have augmented, and it's the same type of thing. Where you can have, it's a really great lecture kind of that they give, and I just want to put that link in there. And James, I'll start with you. When it comes to virtual reality and web technologies, I think that's another leap. I think it's another big. What are your thoughts on the fact that we're getting faster, and then now here they are, they're talking about VR using Mozilla technologies, web technologies, Chrome technologies.
I think that's also very exciting. I played briefly this game, and I'm completely blanking on it. This huge sort of virtual reality type game that Google created that was only available for certain people on mobile. It was invite only, where you had to go around. There was things that you would follow on your GPS in your own local area that you had to go and like take them over.
Ingress. You're talking about Ingress.
Yes, Ingress. I played Ingress, and I think if that's sort of virtual reality. I mean, you're looking at your phone, and it's telling you GPS coordinates, and you actually have to physically go to those coordinates and do stuff. So if that was an actual true virtual reality experience, I think games like Ingress would be way more fun, and I would probably play them for more than a week and then get bored.
I did get a chance to play Ingress, and I think you did too, Craig, didn't you? Did you play Ingress?
Yes, I still have an active account. I just haven't logged in a while.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Because of the fact that I live in Baltimore, so it's actually, I'm in one of the good areas where, like, if you like DC, New York, like if you have a downtown where you walk around a lot, and you walk around the same areas, and there's a lot of spots that you can try and take over, it's a lot easier, right? But if you live in like an area that's just kind of sparse and things like that, it becomes more difficult, because that took over a lot of spots. But that's a whole different show. Ingress is all games, I agree. You're right about that. Ingress it's a great experiment. I think like the whole thing with Google and the fact that they had that one guy doing the development, and then they brought the team in, they made it that's very cool. So I agree, though. That definitely has a VR type of feel for it. It definitely has. Now they talk about mostly with the goggles, right? And I get that, but I think like that to me, they do talk a little bit about the whole mobile aspect of it. But Craig, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we just touched on the fact we all played Ingress, which has an augmented reality type piece to it. But do you think this is just the web technology is just getting so good that they can take over the native language, the lower language technologies?
I think that if you are the founder of one of these companies that is looking to specialize in this type of technology, you need to be looking to base your code, to write your original code in a language that is going to be flourishing in the next decade. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to write a application like this or to design technology in a language that might disappear. We're seeing some of that with Java. People are kind of rebelling against Java plugins and applets. So if you're one of these companies and you're starting from scratch anyway, it might make sense to target web technologies because we see these major companies supporting them. We see Mozilla, we see Google, we see Opera Software. They're behind the web technologies, and they're not going to stop pushing them. So they're going to keep testing the limits of what's possible, and a large part of that is getting other people to invest in the platform and say, hey, I'm designing something that today means very little, but in 5 years could radically change the world. I need a language that's going to be better in 5 years than it is today. And if you look at the history of some of the current languages that have maybe stagnated over time, web technologies look pretty appealing.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I mean, basically, if you think about it, all of our large companies are maybe not the largest, right? But thinking about it from a perspective of marketing and what companies are like the top companies. A lot of the ones at the top of your head are going to be Google, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, right? And those are all companies that need the web and use web technologies and the transfer protocols mostly. I mean, especially some like Apple, they don't necessarily not into the web, but they're a lot of the stuff that they're doing. So it's all based on these web technologies. So I think there's nothing to do but go up with the web technologies and to keep them being pushed forward. I wish I could get away from Java. I wish. I've actually been having a couple of problems with Java lately, and I'm at work, and I'm like, anyway. So I digress. So back onto the news, right? I think it's a lot of great stuff coming up with in regard to the technologies. But let's jump into a little bit more Chrome specific, right? Google working on a remote wipe feature for Chromebooks. Now, we've hinted at this a couple of times. We've talked about this here on the show, where we talked about the fact that if it'd be a good thing, and it looks like it's definitely coming. James, what do you think about the fact that you could wipe your Chromebook remotely?
I think that's great. I think it's necessary when you're talking about particularly trying to get more into the corporate world. Google has been doing a lot of things to try to be a little bit more legitimate when it comes to enterprise, and not just Chromebooks are not just the cheap laptop you can give to your 5-year-old because who cares if they break it? It's only $200. They're actually trying to be legitimate. Hey, these are functional and you can use them at work, but businesses are going to be a little hesitant to hand one out to all their employees if they don't have the ability to locate, lock, and wipe the devices that we've all come accustomed to being able to do with our Blackberries and our smartphones. So I think it's awesome. They've been working on it for at least a little bit. I know I've been aware of it since about, well, I guess only about middle of May is the first time I heard about it. And I think they already have the ability. I believe if you have a if you have the Chromebook, what do they call the Chromebook management for businesses or whatever? But they're rolling it out to be more of a consumer thing actually now. So from what I understand, if I remember correctly, so pretty much anybody will be able to have the ability to remotely lock and wipe their Chromebook device. So that's pretty cool, because while it seems like it is mainly for businesses, there are individuals who would like to have that ability too, because just because I'm not a big business doesn't mean I don't have sensitive information that I have on my Chromebook, and when I go to the bathroom at Starbucks, maybe I don't want to take my Chromebook into the bathroom with me. Maybe I'd like to feel a little more comfortable leaving it on the table for 2 minutes, knowing that if someone happens to steal it, I can go in and easily lock it down and wipe it if I need to. John, you're still muted.
Epic fail. Anyway, this is actually an article from OMG Chrome. Joy wrote it, and basically he goes over the fact that this is going to be it's a work in progress. You can't flip the flag yet, but it's definitely something coming. He's got a couple great screenshots in there, where he kind of goes over what it's going to look like, things like that. But Craig, what do you think about the fact? From what I understand, everything is already encrypted in the user land area of Chrome OS. So erasing, I don't know if necessarily is going to be like the big boon for me. I mean, for me, it would be locking it, like where you would have to hit the power wash to even use the device.
For me, it's the locate feature. I think James hit the nail on the head when he said that it's something we expect from our other mobile devices. I truly think this is an issue of bringing Chrome OS up to parity with Android in terms of remote management for lost devices. It's a little frustrating for me if I were to lose my Chromebook to know that I wouldn't be able to get a GPS location on where it's at like I can with my phone. I realize that Chromebooks don't ship with GPS chips today. I would really like to see that happen. I would buy a Chromebook just because it had a GPS chip, to be entirely honest. Just because it's that extra safety of mind. It's being able to know where your devices are at any given time. I'm going to be a little bit curious as to how they do it. There's an enroll feature. I want to know where you're going to be able to check for that information. I would really like to see Google rebrand the Android device manager on the web as the Google device manager to let you see all of your Google devices, whether Android or Chrome OS, all in one web page. That would be the best option. Knowing Google, that will not be what they do, but that would be ideal for me. But I understand the idea of being able to lock it and wipe it, but John, as you say, they're encrypted, the stateful partitions are anyway, so locking it might make some sense if you can truly lock it down even at the firmware level where a hard recovery wouldn't unlock it, but I think that introduces some other issues where people accidentally lock it, forget the password, and then basically have to send it in for repair. So for me, it's the locate feature, but it won't be anywhere near accurate because they don't have GPS devices. So I've got mixed feelings about this.
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Well, I agree. The locate feature is a good idea too. It's all good. It's just another feature that's coming that I'm happy to see coming, honestly. But some things do go away, right? Like the free Gogo in-flight internet. It's not going to be for the newer Chromebooks, right? So it's one of those features that I haven't used yet. I haven't had a chance to jump on a flight that has the Gogo or even have my Chromebook with me, but it is one that I was capable of getting, allowed to get because of my Acer C720, and I just haven't had a chance to use it yet. But I was on a flight. I would rather not pay for it. I don't know about you, Craig. Have you had a chance, or did you grab yours?
Well, I've had a chance to read the article because I'm the one that sent the tip in. But the discussion of this came up in the Google Plus community. There was a member that said basically he was looking for confirmation that his Toshiba Chromebook was eligible. And the default answer was, of course it is. They all are. But we did some extra digging, and we found the support page that indicated otherwise. Joey at OMG Chrome followed up with support and confirmed that they've reached out to Google for comment. But according to the support page, some of the newer devices will not be eligible, which for most people, it's not a big deal because they don't board planes every day. But there were some people that bought Chromebooks just for the in-flight Wi-Fi passes, because the cost of the passes actually surpasses the cost of some of the devices. So it was like getting a free computer if you were a frequent flyer that was constantly paying for Wi-Fi. So for some people, this is going to be a deal breaker. For others, it won't be a problem. I have not had a chance to test it yet, but I have 2 opportunities I'm going to try this summer and fall. So I'll report back how it goes.
There you go. James, what about you, sir? Get a chance?
No, I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm flying to Texas here in a couple of weeks, so maybe they'll have it. A lot of in the country flights don't have it, so but you never know. I might get a chance to test it out. Last year I didn't bring my Chromebook with me when I went to India. I had a perfect chance to test it out, and I didn't because I'm a loser. So I most likely will not ever probably be able to test it unless I fly out of the country again soon.
I'm with you. I haven't. Hopefully I'll get a chance to. Hopefully pretty soon, but I'm not sure when. It depends on my training schedule. We'll see. Hopefully I'll get a chance to. But next up in the news, Chrome devs working on Project Athena. Now this, maybe we should. No, okay, we'll do this next. This is a big one, right? So we've been talking about touch on the Acer C720P, and 2 articles have come out about Project Athena. There's this one on OMG Chrome, and then Mr. Kevin Toffel over at Gogo also had an article about the kind of findings, the titillating code snippets, the what do you call them, Craig? What do you call them? Darn it. Can't remember. Is it the commits that you guys are looking at, or the bugs? The bug tracker? I can't remember which one it is. But the point is that Athena is coming. Craig, I'm gonna chuck it to you because honestly, you've actually done a great deal of digging. What I know about is what you've told me, as well as reading the article from OMG Chrome and Kevin Toffel over Gogo. What is this? Is this coming? Are we really going to have like a really tight UI for with touch on Chrome OS?
I don't want to comment on this, unfortunately. To be honest, I haven't said anything publicly about this yet. I've known about it. I've been tracking it, like John said. I've got document after document full of tracker comments and commits just to try to piece together what I can. But it's still too early for me to say anything solid, confirmed for sure. Honestly, the articles I've read, they make some leaps and bounds. Kevin did a great job, and Sam at OMG Chrome, they both did a great job of being careful, not making any assumptions, being very upfront that this is being pieced together. But at the core, it appears to be an interface that is based off of Ash. It's a separate shell project, but has, I should explain. Ash is the interface for Chrome OS. A few months ago, we talked about on the show how in Windows 8 Metro mode, if you launched Chrome, you would get the Chrome OS design, the icon shelf, the layout. That is the Ash window manager. And the UI stack that window manager is part of is called Aura. And that was introduced either in milestone 19 or 21, one of those two. The original Chromebooks didn't actually have a Windows manager at all. It was, you booted straight into tabs, and that was fun. But we've come a long way since then, and this seems to be an interesting development. I am not ready to say it's the next step. I'm not ready to say it's going to be anything at all. Some of the things I've read suggest that it might just be kind of a development space for very quick prototyping of new elements that might eventually get kind of merged back into the main line. So I'm not really yet ready to talk about this. If anything major happens, I don't know, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable talking about it. I/O is only a week away. We may see some stuff there. I will be watching all of the live streams related to Chrome OS development, even though I'm not a developer, just to listen for any careful mentions. 2 years ago, they talked about package apps quite a bit before the rest of the world knew about them. So I don't know what we'll see. This is an interesting thing, but I'm not the guy to spill the beans. Sorry.
Well, you're right. So that's what we're talking about right now. Is what Craig just said is it's the window manager. Basically, before you were in nothing but tabs, which means basically you were just constantly just looking at the browser, working inside of tabs. Then you're able to minimize, change the shape of your window, move it to the side, snapping features, things like that. And Athena now, and Craig, you made a really good point that Kevin Topol and Sam Tran, Sam with OMG Chrome, and then Kevin, of course, with Gogo, they did a really good job of talking about speculation. And Sam, actually, a couple people on the post on G+ were like, "Good job," because if you notice here on the site, he really did point out, "Whoa, okay, so to stop the press, the area below here is not factual, it's all speculation. Up top is what people have reported, what they're seeing with the debug reports, things like that. But down below, we're going to talk about things that don't necessarily are necessarily true, right?" So a couple people mentioned that, and we're like, good job, being like, But anyway, but they do go into the fact that like there's some stretches. Craig's correct, and they go into how it could be more of a touch interface. It could be more Android-like, things like that. Could it be based for Chrome OS tablets? What's coming with this? Is this something, or like Craig said, is it just something for developers? It's something that they use in the background for their testing purposes. So we don't know. So it is all speculation at this point. James, when it comes to speculation, I love it. I'm never a fact-based man myself. But James, what are your thoughts on the fact that we have seen a great deal of information pumped out this week? Of course, it's always kind of been out there, as Craig said, some of the data he's been gathering for a while. What are your thoughts on it?
I have no thoughts on it. You know me. I don't know stuff about things. I learned what Ash was about 30 seconds ago when Craig told us. So as far as what Athena is, I don't know. Seems to have something to do with touch, maybe. You already know I'm not really huge into touch on Chrome OS yet, anyways. So I have even less to say about it than Craig does.
All right. Well, I think it's when it comes to our little world of Chrome news, I think that it was a push, and I think honestly, Kevin is always grabbing for the touch, so we're going to give it to him right? We're gonna definitely, and I think that he did a good job, like you said, Craig, with his reporting, as well as Sam doing a great job at OMG Chrome, talking about the fact that most of it's speculation, but what's available out there to make it, to show the point. So I like it, and I like to talk about it. Speaking of development projects that come to a grinding halt and we never see them. Craig, you actually supplied this link here, another OMG Chrome article, but another great one, basically talking about the fact that the Omnibar URL hiding in Chrome has been halted. So, and if you get a chance to, again, go to the article link, they got a really great GIF, whatever you want to call it. It's the where it shows how the URL will disappear, and basically that that this functionality where you would have like www.ebay.com and then a bunch of stuff to where you went to look at a certain item on eBay, and you had that long string of a URL, and then it just says ebay.com, and then allows you to see your Omnibar. They're going to stop that. That's all done there. We're not going to do that. And I honestly am hugely in favor of leaving my URL bar the heck alone. James, what do you think, sir?
I kind of agree with you, because I feel like if I click on a link, if I'm on eBay and I click on a link, I expect it to not say eBay anymore. I expect it to say ebay.com/something. I feel like it's just sneaky, and I just like to know where I'm going. I like to see the URL. Plus, I don't know. It's probably not a big deal. I don't even think they've finished doing it, right? They kind of were going to do it, and then they said they're not going to do it. So I'm not really that upset about it, because nothing has changed in my life. And like you, I'm kind of okay with it, just leaving my Omnibar alone.
I'm with you, Craig. What about you, sir? How's your Omnibar doing these days?
It's fine, and it's glad that you're checking in on it. This feature, it revolves around the idea of an origin chip, which basically just means that the URL bar hides the long, lengthy part of a URL that confuses the average person and focuses on what site you're on. So if you're on ebay.com, it'll show you you're on ebay.com, which is all the information the average user needs. This really is kind of pandering to the lowest common denominator, and it makes sense to do so, especially on devices where screen real estate is minimal, because you're not going to see the whole thing anyway until you click on it and scroll left and right between it. For the record, the feature hides it, but if you click on it, it gives you the whole URL. So you're not losing anything except the visual at all times. I'm not really bothered by the idea. I can see how it would appeal to the average user. It makes it look a little neater, a little cleaner. It doesn't inconvenience me. I can click on it to see the whole thing if I need to. It's not often I do need to. So the fact that it's been put on the back burner doesn't really concern me. I kind of want to know why it got put on the back burner. Did they do A/B testing and people hated it? That would be my gut guess.
Yeah, me too.
So I would be curious as to why, but if it happens, I'm not going to complain.
No, I'm with you. It's just what it is. Honestly, it kind of, for me, at first when I was reading the articles, going through the list, and I had hemmed and hawed on where to put the articles around, and that's why I kind of hemmed and hawed when I brought up the other article about Athena. I wanted this one to be next because I think because I was foretelling of your point about the fact that Athena might be just a developer thing. This is one of those things where like they might be trying Athena in the back end or just using it for development or whatever, and then it just goes by the wayside because that's how development sometimes works. So I think that was a good spot to have that article. But yeah, the whole chip thing, we've seen it before, and I didn't like it. I think either there was Firefox. I think it was Firefox that did it at one point as well. or maybe it was Opera. I'm not sure which one, but one of them had it, and I was like, I hate this. And there was a functionality to turn it off. But anyway, so I'm just glad it's not coming. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, all right, guys. So now it's on. Of course, we're going to jump into the review. But first, we do have to say a big thank you again to the Effective Group for sponsoring this episode of Practical Chrome. Of course, Effective Group stats do show that they increase the turnover and inquiry rate of websites 9-fold. Right? So Effective Group is this great company based out of the UK that can help you get your business off the ground on the internet. The big thing, the one thing that everyone's going to. When I look at the numbers for Practical Chrome, most of the hits on the website, like something like 80%, come from either a mobile app or they're looking at it on mobile. That's 80%. 80%. That's huge. So if you can get on mobile, if you can get on the web, if you can have your product or your company available, definitely Effective Group's going to be one of those companies that can do it. I can't stress enough how cool they do mobile and the web. How like they can take the desktop and they can make it look just the same on mobile, and you're not going to a different site that looks kind of funny for mobile. It's just your site, and it's just been like perfectly rendered in a smaller form factor. It's awesome. So they do all that great internet stuff, right? I mean, their cool tagline is the fact that they make the internet work for you, because it needs to work for you to get you more customers. For someone to be walking on the street with their mobile phone and boom, they find you because either you're in the area or it's just everyone's on mobile. So definitely get on that. But Effective Group services are website design, SEO management, PPC management, product listing ads management, and social media management. So definitely check them out. And of course, to find out more about the Effective Group and read about their successes, definitely check out their website. It's effective-group.com. Again, that was effective-group.com. And we thank them again for sponsoring Practical Chrome. All right, guys. The Acer C720P. Now, first of all, the whole P thing, I always say this. P, it stands for touch, because it's the touch model. It's a weird thing to just add a P on the end and be like, that's the touch model. Right now, I'm actually showing the website from Acer, showing this really sweet model for only $300. Now, $299.99, right? If you're in Maryland, there's a little bit of tax there, more than I'd like. But for only $300, you're getting a touch screen, 32 gig hard drive. It's just like the 720 model. It's only a little bit more expensive, and you're getting those added benefits of the 32 gig and the touch. It's amazing, honestly. If you haven't seen the 720 model, I had a chance to see it. It's actually pretty. Now I don't have. I'm of course broadcasting off the C720, but I do have the C720P. Now I do have the Moonstone White edition. I like the term Moonstone. I think that's pretty cool. You can see it's pretty small. It's pretty light. It actually weighs. I weighed it. I did. We have one of those scales for shipping stuff, and it is exactly 3 ounces more than the 720 model, the non-touch model. So really nice. Great battery life, of course, as usual with all of the Chromebooks. But this one, of course, does have the 7.5, the SSD, all that great cool stuff. Now, see, I left my sticker on. Touch. You see that there? So it's got the touch screen. If you look, you can see how it has a glass compared to the 720, again, which I'm broadcasting from, so I can't show you. But this bezel, this black bezel, it kind of sinks in when you get to the screen. But on this one, of course, it's just a flat glass because it's the touch. So that makes it a little bit more like nice, a little classy, a little glossy nature to it. And of course, the touchpad, everything like that is the same as the C720 model. And of course, you get the USB ports, all that good stuff, HDMI out, all that awesomeness. I mean, really, what I can say about this model, besides the fact that it's just like the C720, and again, size-wise, people ask all the time, well, how is it, lighter? How is it bigger? How is it different? How is it? It's an 11-inch Chromebook. So I've got a comic book here, and you can see how big the Chromebook is, right? So that's how big the Chromebook is. It's basically a little bit bigger than a comic book. right? So not that big and really light. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. And I wanted to get everyone's thoughts. Luckily, this is a model that we've all got our hands on and had a chance to use. I think in the end, it's going to be another great Chromebook for anyone to purchase because I think it's really fast, comes on immediately. It has all of the great benefits of Chrome OS, but then for a really low price, you get touch as well. So if you were into the whole touch thing, which we're going to bring that up in a minute, the whole touch thing, then this is definitely the model you want to get. $300. I mean, a Pixel's going to run you, used right now like $800 or $900. And so, I mean, this is definitely the model you want to pick up if you want a touch model. But let me throw it to James. James, I'll start with you first because I know that you've got the C720, you've got the 14, so you've definitely been living with some Chromebooks here, and even the bigger one like the 14. What are your thoughts on the fact that here is a variant that weighs a skoonch more, has a bigger hard drive, and now is delivering touch? So first off, I want to know what your thoughts are between the 720 and the 720p in regard to what your thoughts are, like in the weight and just the glossy screen. But then touch. Where are you going with touch? How are you feeling?
Well, John, first of all, one of my favorite things about the Acer lineup is they're almost the exact same size as my Dora the Explorer Let's Play book. You can see it's almost the same exact length and width, so that's what I always compare my computers to, is my Dora the Explorer books. I don't have any comics laying around.
And then also had Diego, and go Diego, go.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I got everything. Honestly, on paper, the Acer C720P looks a lot better on paper, in my opinion, because the differences between it and the regular C720 is a larger local hard drive, which isn't that big of a deal, given that kind of the point of the Chromebook is to do most of your storing online. It's still nice though, particularly with the ability to save movies and TV shows locally now with Google Play. But it's really not a huge thing. And then of course the touchscreen is the other main difference, which again to me is really not worth money. It's cool to say I have a touchscreen, but honestly, the only time I ever touch it is when I notice there's dust on it and I go to brush it off, and then I'm mad because I just accidentally clicked on something because I forgot it's a touchscreen. So, but it looks really good on paper. And honestly, the reason I bought mine was because it was like $210. I bought it used, and I like the white. And so I knew that it wouldn't be that hard to sell my Acer C720. So I figured why not pick up the C720P and get the little extra storage and the touchscreen for pretty much the same price as a regular C720P. C720P is $200, or I'm sorry, C720 is $200. I got this for $210, so it seemed like a no-brainer. But honestly, I probably wouldn't have bought it at the normal price because those upgrades are just not super important to me.
I agree about the touch. I don't touch. I don't know about it. I just don't know about it. Craig, while I bring up the we'll talk more about touch here after. But I want to get everybody's kind of like thoughts immediately on the device. You've had the HP 11, which is the same kind of size, and you've also had the C720Ps for clients, and you've had a chance to look at them and handle them. What are your thoughts on the P variant? I mean, is it worth the money? Let me put it that way. Let's do that, right? So James was like got the bigger hard drive, right? And it just seems like the white. Honestly, the white, of course, you know how I am with colors. I like the white. It can get dirty easily though. HP 11 is also white. So, but what are your thoughts, Craig? Definitely. What do you think about this awesome little variant of the C720?
Well, to begin with, for the size comparison, since you guys all got to do some, it is, for reference, much larger than the average Lego block. So I'm a little disappointed in the size of the device. But I guess if you make a smaller device, the screen's going to shrink too, and I kind of like the bigger screen with the touch. Okay, let's get serious. Okay. They muted their mics because they can't stop laughing. To
It's
be
true.
serious, though, I have to admit that for me, the touch is a convenience factor. I've really gotten used to touching to switch between tabs, to navigate between chat windows. It shaves milliseconds off my workflow. So in other words, it makes me no more productive, but it gives me a little bit more convenience. And I will say it makes Chrome OS feel snappier because there's no longer a delay between saying I want to switch tabs and getting the cursor to the tab you want to click on. Now it's just I want to switch tabs. Oh, look, I've switched tabs. So there's that kind of instant gratification to it. It does make Chrome OS feel snappier, even though it isn't actually snappier. I will say that the touch has not radically changed the way I interact with Chrome OS in the least. It does not make me be able to, it's not a whole new experience layer, nothing like that. And it does get annoying from time to time, like James said, when you, I've had to learn how to clean the screen without touching it. That was a first for me. I had to learn how to do that. So you do have to modify your behavior to suit the device. As for your question, John, is it worth the extra money? No, I don't think so. I think for the $199 price point, the 720 is the best value Chromebook on the market today. For 80% of users, it's the best value. It's the device you're going to want to spend your money on. However, if you are like one of us here on Practical Chrome, where you like to try new things, you like to stay on top of what's coming up, and in general, you want something to show off to your friends and family, it's probably worth the extra money if you have the extra money to spend. It is cool. It has a convenience factor to it. The white version is amazing looking. My version's just as amazing looking. It's the gray variant, and it's fine too. I love it to death. The white version might say a little too much. I've got the white HP 11, so too many white computers, it might be a little weird, but I've been happy with it. It's snappy, it performs well. The 32 gigabyte solid state drive is an enhancement over the 16. But I don't think it's worth the extra money for the average person because the 720 is such a good value in comparison.
So, I agree. Now, I don't know if I've told the story before, but I think that when it comes, you're talking about an extra $100 on a $200 device, right? So you're effectively, I mean, that is a ridiculous jump. If you're looking at if you want a $200 device and you're like, oh, well, 300 was too much for me. That's what I did. I walked in saying I want a $200 device. I saw this exact model sitting right next to it. At one point, the salesperson said, that's the only model that I have, is the P variant. I was like, well, I need you to check your shelf again because I don't want I had the money for the P variant, but I was like, I do miss the 32 gigabyte hard drive, and this gets into my geeky nature of I might want to do other things, right? I always want my Chrome device. I always want Chrome, but I know that there's other things that I can do with it that are outside of that a little bit, and that's only because I'm a geek and I like to do geeky things. But other people do too, so that's why I think one of the reasons a lot of people are upgrading their C720s hard drives, things like that. But I could feel that slipping away when I bought the C720. So I think there's value in that 32 gigabyte hard drive, but not $100. And I don't want touch. And Craig, you mentioned, we've talked about this before. It's become part of my daily routine, but it definitely something I still have to remember every once in a while. I'll be like, oh, and I'll go to click the tab. But the 3-finger swipe on a Chromebook sends you to the right and left on your tab. So you don't actually have to go up and click a tab. You can actually just slide. And it is quite fast. It's actually, I mean, the faster you go, you'll be all the way to the left in a second or all the way to the right. It's like too quick. You're like, ooh. You actually have to slow down yourself down a little bit. But it's available. It's one of those things that it can do is that you do have that ability. So I just wanted to mention that. I agree with you that you can definitely just reach in and just boop, boop, you're done. And I saw that. The only other aspect of the touch feature that I can talk about right now is, it makes the screen glossy, which I both love and hate. I think it adds value by it having like a glass texture. The other one is a matte finish. It doesn't look like a real screen, so to speak. It looks like, you're used to, you know what it is, I'm used to the phones, I'm used to the tablets, I'm used to this high gloss, in your face, make it look like it costs a lot of money type thing. And that's kind of sad. But so seeing that, I'm like, I like that. So I think if you're out there and you want touch, you want a big hard drive, and you've got the extra $300, and like Craig said, you've got the innovation factor there. When they start coming out with more touch features, you're going to need a touch device. So keep that in mind as well. It's definitely a good buy. It's definitely a good buy. So real quick on the touch, about the touch thing, right? So we've talked about the device, lovely device. I'm actually going to crack it up because it's got one of those really cool. Craig's got these available on Chromebook, but it does have one of those really nice wallpapers that's really unique, right? So you can definitely find those. And I've actually been showing images of Chromebook on the Compare Devices site, so you can just see the differences between the devices. As well as also James has Chromebooks.reviews, and just like that, by the way, Chromebooks.reviews, no .com. Once you go there, you can actually look up all the different reviews of all the different models, and of course the C720P is out there. And he lists off the reviews that he's got up there. So definitely check that out. So now on the touch. So let's get all touchy feely, right? I want to go next week. I'd like to do some more touching and discuss maybe go into the Athena piece a little bit. Again, just dig in. Because I really don't. This is going to be my stance. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to mark this in stone somewhere. I don't feel like touch on a laptop is appropriate right now. So I'm going to say that, right? But that's because I'm almost 35. I've been sitting in front of computers and typing on them for years, like since I was. My father brought home a VIC-20 like way back in like '84 or whatever. So I've seen computers as a something you sit down to and you interact with it on a keyboard and a mouse. The technologies coming across for voice and touch are getting there. They really are. If you have a Moto X, you know that there's a lot of talking going on. And I think Kevin Tofel's reported on his Moto X multiple times about how he just sits in his home office and he'll wave his hand over, or okay, Google now do this, or Google now do that. It's coming, right? But until you get both of those functionalities, and the keyboard is still, you need it, and my hands leaving the home row, I don't like it. It doesn't feel natural to me. Now my daughter, she sits in front of this, either one, the 2-year-old or the 6-year-old, and they are immediately touching that screen. Immediately. Like right away. Like, you can't even stop them. On my 720 model, when I first brought it home, they tried to touch the screen. I'm like, it's that weird matte finish you can never clean. Don't touch it. Right? Versus the touch models, which have the glossy, and I'm like, yeah, have at it, right? And the girls were like, yeah, this is normal. Dad, I want to poke that and to make it go. It's going to go where I want it to go. Oh, I see. Into nickjr.com. I see Backyardigans. And there's games, right? She doesn't have to remember that this is a trackpad because she's used to a mouse, but she's used to her mother's iPhone, my Nexus 7, my other Android phones. They're so used to it, and it's right there. So I think maybe it's just for the next generation, and I'm just a curmudgeon. Craig, I'll start with you. Am I a curmudgeon, sir?
I don't want to insult you on air, John. But let's just say that there will be a generational gap there. The touch will be very targeted at the younger demographic, just because they're more familiar with it. They're going to grow up with tablets from a young age. They may even grow up with touchscreen TVs. I don't know. Who knows where the TV industry is going to go next, but I can guarantee you're going to be buying a new TV every 5 years, even 50 years from now. But I don't find the interface that radical just because there's a layer of touch. And trust me, it is a layer of touch. It is that panel of glass that represents it can be touched. So I feel like it's just kind of a tacked on thing at the end saying, oh, hey, we made a Chromebook. Let's just put this panel of glass over it, and people can start touching things. It doesn't change how I interact with the device. I still use the trackpad a lot. The biggest thing is just switching between tabs, and since I have a lot of tabs down in the lower right, and a lot of tabs up in the top left, I find myself using touch to get between the two because it's much faster than dragging my cursor up, down 200 million times a day. So I do find touch a little bit quicker for that, but I really haven't found a lot of other uses for it. Pausing and playing YouTube videos, Google Play videos, that still feels a little weird to me too. I always want to move the cursor and find the pause button. And I am not used to dragging windows around yet. That drives me insane. I just can't do it. Clicking bookmarks is also a problem. I will say that too. And the reason it's a problem is because I use the trick where you delete the name of the bookmark, so you're just left with the bookmark icons. And when you have a row of those, they're too small to click if you have fat fingers, because they're only 16 pixels by 16 pixels at that point. So I find myself reaching for the calendar icon and clicking the contacts or the YouTube or the helpouts or Google Plus. It's a mess. It's basically Russian roulette with my bookmarks. So I feel like there could be optimizations made, but I also feel like anytime you start to make things bigger just to appease the touch people, you're going to annoy the people that are only using cursors for the precision. There are only a couple Chrome devices with touchscreens at the moment. You've got the Pixel, the 720p, the Yoga models from Lenovo, but I mean, 80% of Chromebooks are still cursor only at this point. So if you get too heavy on the touch features, you're going to start to alienate everyone else. And if you don't add any touch kind of optimized features, then there's no reason to pay the extra $100 for the touchscreen model. So it's kind of a chicken and egg issue. I don't know how they're going to solve it, but they're smart people, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
Agreed. And they're definitely going to make it. They're definitely going to make it better. They've got to, but they do have to ride that fine line. James, I'm going to ask again. Am I a curmudgeon? And you can make fun of me on air. It's okay. Just backhand me across the face and tell me that I'm old. It's okay. Do it.
Well, I've never been one for sugarcoating things, but I'm not going to be mean. I get it. I have seen a grown woman reach out and touch a button on my TV once, thinking that it would work for some. I don't know why. I love her to death. She's the same girl that put her credit card in the receipt slot in an ATM and wondered why I wouldn't take it. But so I get it. You see a screen, you just kind of want to reach out and touch it, especially if there's a big old round play button. It's just screaming, "Touch me." But again, it's right now there's just too many things that are optimized for a little tiny mouse cursor, not for my big fat man finger. But I just haven't one time thought to myself I should touch this on the screen. Like that's never come. Like I've always thought I'm going to touch the trackpad. I'm going to use my mouse. I'm going to go up and click. Nothing is ever. I've never thought that if I touch it instead, that's going to make my life better. With the exception of, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm trying to share my my screen so they see my screen instead of my face. Is that working?
Well, wait. I can see. What can we see here?
Well, when I'm talking, do you see my face or my screen?
We can see your screen.
Okay, I want to show you my sweet Metro desktop here that actually does work quite well with touch. So this is about the only thing I use my touchscreen for is when I want to feel like I have Windows 8 on my Chromebook. But other than that, never once have I thought that I should touch my screen.
Okay, you basically brought Windows 8 to Chrome OS, and I think I just like threw up my mouth a little bit.
You're welcome, Internet.
That's right. No, I'm just kidding. I'm with you on that whole touch thing. I think I think we definitely have talked about that a little bit and approached that subject I think well, because I think for someone like me, I don't like to touch it. Craig, I think you're hitting the nail on the head when it comes to, the new features are going to come down the line and it's going to get better. And then James, the fact that you touched the TV, I mean honestly, my daughters, they were like, no, that should be touch. Like they think the same thing. It's like a screen. No, I can touch that. That's how this works. I interact with it by touching it. So let's do that. Let's get her done. So yeah, it's definitely something. Now there is. I didn't put it in the show notes. Let me see if I can bring it up really quickly. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's something that I reposted because I was like, that's awesome. And that was someone came up with this really neat concept video of Chrome and Android together. And I bring this up not because of the fact that I thought that was cool, which it was, but the fact that let's see if I can find it really quickly. And that was I'm gonna see if I can play the video. There it is. So basically in this video, and what I wanted to kind of show was, let's skip this awesome advertisement from Google. Let's skip that for a second, and then we're going to go and what it's going to show you is what they did was they said, okay, well, what if the trackpad is also an LCD display with touch? Like that's what it is. So it's going to show that in a second, but basically I think that's really one of the most attractive things I've seen in a while. I mean, look at if you saw that they unlocked it by using the pattern unlock on the trackpad, right? So again, this is a concept video. This is not real. The people that brought it together, though, they did a really good job of showing us what it might look like to have Chrome and Android come together. But the whole touchpad as a live LCD display is just sexy. Like, look at that. That is so cool. So if you get a chance to watch the YouTube video, I'll add a link. But they do a really good job. Like he's taking a call on his Chromebook, and so that the trackpad lights up just like a phone and says, "Do you want to take this call?" Craig, I'm starting with you. Did you see this video at all? And I only bring it up because of that trackpad, because I think we've been talking about the fact that using the trackpad, but now like you can actually like expand on that.
Yeah, I saw the video, and I don't share your excitement over the trackpad concept because it's not where you should be looking. If you're using a laptop, you're looking at the big screen. You shouldn't be looking at your trackpad or your keyboard. Your eyes should be at the display that is vertically aligned with your face. If you have to look at the trackpad, number one, your eyes are shifting away from the content you're viewing on the primary display, but your neck is also shifting a million times per day. So I like the idea of it, but I think in practice it would probably be a nightmare. Just because it's another screen to look at. You know? I mean, it's another place to look for information. And for people that are not savvy, that get lost in the menus as it is, that's a nightmare. That's asking for trouble. That's
James,
that's my first impression.
James, back me up.
I'm actually with John on this one. I'm a huge fan of my Nintendo DS. And I just love looking up and down from one screen to the other. I think it's fun. I'm not gonna watch movies on my trackpad, but if they want to put a little answer phone or hang up on person, big red on the left, big green on the right, I don't really need to focus too much on that. I can right now, looking at your wonderful chiseled face, I can see my trackpad out of the bottom corner of my eyes. So if somebody was to call me and I had the option to answer or hang up, I would already see that, and I could just easily swipe left or right and answer the phone call. So I think it would depend on how this trackpad is utilized, and it could also it could have some interesting implications for games like the Nintendo DS, where you're usually focusing on the one screen, but sometimes you have to interact with the other for the game. I could almost see that being kind of fun, but with it being so small, probably not a huge opportunity there, unless they want to make this entire blank space in front of me an LCD screen touchpad, which then we're running into all the complaints that Craig had where there's just too much going on. But I think for what they showed in the concept, I think they had some cool ideas. I'm a little worried about it being glass and it being a little too sticky for my finger when I'm using it for, moving a mouse around my screen like the trackpad is meant for. I hope that they've come up with some way of making that not too sticky, because even my phone sometimes when I'm just swiping with the swipe keyboard, I can't, because if the humidity is a certain way, my finger just does not slide across the screen. So that would become very annoying if my trackpad suddenly I couldn't just move my mouse around easily. Luckily, I have a touchscreen to back myself up, though.
I will quickly interject there and say that I use as my primary input a glass-based external touchpad, and humidity not a factor. It's not glass. It's got this. It's glass, but it's got this coating on it that feels. It's almost like a display case on a phone might be, like a screen protector almost. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's just smooth gliding all the time. And I've heard that the Chromebook Pixel actually has a glass trackpad too. So there's historic reference there. That wouldn't be a first.
Just to know.
I will say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you.
Okay. I was just going to say, because I have used, there's an app where I turned my tablet into a trackpad from my Windows machine, and mainly just for funsies. But I ran into the same issue because that, with the humidity and stuff. So it's good to know that that technology is there. They could make and have already made glass surfaces that your finger can slide on easily.
Definitely. The biggest difference is, like you mentioned, the tablet. The glass is clear for visibility. The glass on the trackpad is kind of foggy because of that coating. So as long as you're not using it for visibility, it's nice and slick. But if you want to put a screen underneath it, you're going to have trouble, I think.
Ah, crap.
So,
when it comes to these trackpads, now James, I agree. When I like right now, it's kind of warm down here and kind of pasty. It is kind of sticking on my phone here. It just kind of, you can feel it, like kind of slides, but it kind of gets sticky. Craig, my question would be, is it a coating like a silicone or something like that, or maybe the glass has been polished more? Because I mean, you don't need this type of glass on something like that's inside your Chromebook or inside your at home.
I'm not sure if it's a coating. Honestly, I would probably have to do some research. I'm looking at it right now. It doesn't feel like I can peel anything back, like it's a piece of plastic or anything. But all I can say is I've never had trouble getting it to recognize any input, regardless of weather. And I live in Ohio, so we get all 4 seasons each week. But I mean, it's just smooth. It's just smooth.
There you go. Now, honestly, keeping up with that really quickly, and I want to just everyone. I don't have any links or anything like that, but the whole iPhone turquoise thing. What do they call that? It's like the iPhone. What are they using? Darn it! They're using some precious stone to add to the layer of glass. I wonder if that'll make it easier to touch. Anyway, I can't remember what topaz. I can't remember. Tanzanite. I don't know. Is Tanzanite even a stone? I don't know. But maybe that. Words. I'm just making up words. Making them up. Anyway, sapphire. It's sapphire. I'm terrible. But adding that as part of an anti-scratch type thing, and I'm wondering if that might have that type of effect. I don't know why, but that just brought up, but that was my thought. Okay, let's jump into the login section, right? So the login section, we're just going to take a look at a couple quick apps, and this is for productivity, right? The first one is available for all devices, and then they have this really great Chrome app called Workflowy. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but basically, I really like this app. It's cool. I'm actually going to have to let me see if I can kind of break this down real quick. I'm going to turn off screen share for a second, and then I'm going to turn it back on and do my whole screen so you can see what this app looks like, because it's really cool. So Workflowy is basically a list app, right? It allows you to create lists but then work inside them. So I'm going to go over here and Workflowy, and I'll show it to you here. So this is Workflowy. I'm going to switch over so you can see it. So basically, like I said, it's an app that allows you to make lists, right? So if I have this list for your Practical Chrome, I can expand it. It expands out. I'm trying to build a high-performance team with me, James and Craig, right? We're going to create a schedule. We're going to motivate. We're going to have a pre-flight. We're going to get her done, right? So that's my list. And you can go in and you can add more to that list, or you can break it down. Here's I'm going to go over the agenda before the show, right? So these are like lists that you can come up with, but it's all expandable and it flows, right? For work, I've got, InVision installs, doing stuff like that with my PeopleSoft stuff and development and stuff like that. So of course I've got way more lists to go, and they have a lot of things where you can do tags, you can do searching, and it's all in one spot. Now the reason why I like this is because of the fact that out of all the apps out there, this one actually does go across all the devices, and because it's going to be a web-based app, you do have to be online, but it all syncs up. So that was kind of my app that I saw. And again, it's for productivity, kind of get you going. Now the other one, James and Craig, I'll start with you, Craig. Mind maps. Are either of you familiar with mind maps? So let's, Craig, start with you.
It doesn't ring any bells.
So a mind map is a, oops, I have the wrong one, that's okay. A mind map, so I'm going to open a mind map, I'm going to go into, this one actually stores with, stores to Drive, right? So let's see here, so I made this little mind map, I'm going to open this up, and so what a mind map is a way for you to collect your thoughts into a map. Right? So if you're going to talk about the beginning, well, in the beginning there was light, and then, so what does light have to do with anything? Well, that's visual. There's the sun, there's the dark, which is the difference, which is also cold, and light you have heat. So like, this is a very generic mind map, but what happens is you start to expand on your thoughts. You're mapping out your mind, and this is one of the apps that's available, and it allows you to save to Google Drive. It's a free app. It's online only. It allows you to make a mind map, and a lot of people, like, so if I go to this light one and I hit the button to, minimize everything, so then now you can see your mind map. You can dig into certain areas, and you can expand on your idea for something, right? So you decide on to do A, and then you want to do, like, well, what are the minuses of A? So then you have this whole list of minuses, and then the sub minuses for that. So that way you can expand on yourself, but you write it all down. Some people, of course, just do this with a pen and paper. Other people will use this mind map application. There's a bunch of free ones out there. There's a couple of sites out there that are pretty cool. But this, of course, is just a Chrome app that really is just a link to an online site. But it's really neat, and again, it saves to your Google Drive. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So like if I were to be like cold, I could add another child node and just say. It's not nice in the cold, right? Oops, wrong one. I could just say not nice here. Not nice. Cold is not nice. So the thing is that you can just constantly add these little nodes, and you map your mind, you map your subject, you map how you want things to work for that. So those are my two apps for the week. I think they're pretty cool for productivity. If you want to make yourself a mind map, or if you want to get something in workflowy there, those are pretty cool. Craig, James, did you have anything that you wanted to share today? Maybe I could pull it up on the screen. Any apps that you're like, you know what, that's the bomb. James, I'll start with you.
Yeah, there's a couple apps that I'd like to give a little shout out for. One of them is called Stack Edit. I've only very recently started playing with markup, markdown, mark left. So I'd never even heard of it. Apparently, it's a thing that is used a lot. And Stack Edit, I tried a few when I started learning about this markup. Stack Edit seems to be one of the better ones. It has a lot of functionality, syncing with different online stuff like Drive and I think Dropbox and stuff. It also has offline capability, which was nice because on my new Acer, I had not yet enabled offline docs. And last night, as my family cowered in fear in the basement, hoping the tornadoes didn't take us to Kansas, I had my no lights, no power, no internet, and a Chromebook, and nothing to do. So I blogged about how awful the Motorola RZ100 remote control is with my Stack Edit app. Didn't need any internet, just pulled up the app, blogged away, published it the next day. The other app I'd like to give a shout out for, because there's an update coming to it soon. It's called TeamLab. It's an online document editing, storing type thing. Google Drive, OneDrive, Quick Office, that kind of thing. I was contacted by a lady named Nina with TeamLab asking to review the product. part of my review involved uploading a document that my wife created in Word that Google Drive and OneDrive both fail miserably to render properly, and TeamLab failed just as miserably as the other ones did. Nina asked me to email that document to her, and I did. She said the devs figured out why it wasn't rendering properly, and in the July release, it should render it just fine. And one of the top contributors on the Google Products Forum, Selden, I think his name is, he had a similar experience with the document. He emailed me the document. I emailed that to Nina. Sure enough, a day or two later, I got a response saying that the devs also figured out why that one wasn't rendering properly, and that with the July release, that also should be looking good. So, I hate to say it, but TeamLab has a great chance of being better than Drive. You know me, I love Google. I love my Google Drive, but if TeamLab can render this Word document better than Microsoft OneDrive, I got to give a shout out to TeamLab for that. So definitely check it out. It is an app in the Chrome Web Store, and really, I mean, let me know if you have any feedback. I'll get it to Nina because she really does read that, and they do take that feedback seriously. So they're really trying very hard to make this a great document editing application.
Excellent. You bet. I'll definitely add it on there. And Craig, what any apps out there you're thinking about?
Well, first, I have to give a major credit to James there for that markup joke, because that will not be appreciated for what it was. That was good. That was great. Following that, I don't have any other apps to add, but I will say that the mind mapping app that you featured, John, it looks like it'll be perfect for diagramming and flowcharts. And I think, to some extent, it might actually be better than Google Drawing, which is what I use now, just because it's a dedicated tool for that purpose. Drawing gets a little bit complicated. You can't just add child elements easily, things like that. But go ahead.
Well, mind mapping is a little bit different. You're right; it does do like flow charts, and you can create like outlines, things like that, really quickly. But if anybody's wondering about mind maps, definitely check out things like tutorials for mind maps, because it actually is really, really, really cool, like what you can do with a mind map, because you take an idea. Mostly in my head, I always think about like a business, right? And like you create like this circle of big questions that you have, and then you can branch out, and each question will have an answer, and like you can literally mind map. It's kind of like it's the ultimate brainstorming tool, and it's better with a pencil and paper, to be honest. But with this, you can hold that in the cloud. And also, a lot of them have, this one has really great keystrokes, really quick, like create a new child or create a new sibling. It's like boom, boom, boom. You can just use keystrokes. That's kind of, so I don't want you to get the wrong impression. Diagramming might be a little bit difficult, and flow charting might be a little bit difficult. You can do it, but especially on this one, they kind of have hard-coded like where things are going to kind of sit. You can't move them around. Other mind map tools, you can actually move them, but if I move this around, it's not going to stay. It's not going to go where I want. Where the local mind mapping tools, and also I think there's like mindmeister.com, you can literally like move it right where you want, and it'll stick there, and the line will stay connected. So that might be like something a little bit more better. More better. Awesome English. I just want to. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want you to think that it's like a diag tool. I didn't want you to think that. So
perfect. I appreciate the clarification, because that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, no problem.
Ruling that out off the top is a great thing to do.
I'm telling you, if you look into mind mapping, it's one of those things that'll blow you away when you're like, wow, I should have done that. I always should have done that. It's the coolest thing ever. So definitely check that out. So I guess we'll wrap it up. Again, the Acer C720 in either moonstone, or I think that comes in the gray, the graphite gray. Yep, there you go. That's right. Definitely check them out. Thanks everybody for watching. James, where can people find Mr. Welbes out there in the worlds, in the wilds? Oh, wait. You muted yourself. Christina, you didn't.
Okay. Well, I hit Control D, and the mute icon didn't go away until right before I hit Control D again. You know how it is. Maybe I should have just touched it. You can find me on Google+. plus.google.com/James Welbes, I think. You can find me at the Chromebook, the product forums now. I've been trying to be in there like we talked about last week. I'm averaging like 3 posts a day, so and you can find me at tech.itiswhatitis.biz.
Excellent, excellent. And Craig, where can people find you during the week?
Viewers can find me on Google+. I use my real name, Craig Tumblison. They can find me at chromeup.com, or as James mentioned, crawling the product forum. And once again, if anyone would like to get involved with that, chromebook.com/community. Go there, have a look around, post answers if you got them. You will be recognized for your contributions, I guarantee it.
Agreed. Well, excellent show, guys. Again, thanks for both for joining. And of course, all of our viewers out there. I know you're out there. That shows me in the little box in our little hangout here that people are indeed watching, and we really appreciate you coming out here and listening to us, watching us on the YouTubes. Of course, now Practical Chrome is broadcast. And by the way, you can find me. My name's John Oliphant. Right, you can find me at practicalchrome.com. My real name on G+. But Practical Chrome is broadcast live every Tuesday night at 10:10 Eastern Time. And if you do miss the live show, you can still watch anytime on YouTube via the Practical Chrome channel. Also, of course, practicalchrome.com. And then within a few days, I like to just give it a little, and then the MP3 is up online. And of course, we do have podcasts that are available. If you wish to find the podcast feed, right, you've got an awesome feed reader like Podcast Addict, Pocket Cast, something like that, where if you hit search, sometimes it doesn't find it. Usually it will, though. First try and search for Practical Chrome. But you can definitely grab the feed link. Now, the feed link is on the show page itself. So if you find an episode that you like, or you go to practicalchrome.com, click on one of the shows. I don't have it as a main link yet, but under audio, there's download the MP3, and then there's going to be subscribe buttons. And you've got iTunes, TuneIn.com, StitcherRadio.com, Player.fm. You've got all this great subscribe links there. But where it just says MP3 is the pure feed. So if you've got another podcast app and you just want to pump in the feed, that's where you grab it from. So definitely check that out. And again, usually by like Thursday, Friday, we got that up, and that's going strong. But again, just practicalchrome.com. Check it out. And then one last thing, and that is, if you do use iTunes, which because of our viewership, most people don't necessarily use iTunes or their iPhone. They may have more be like Google-centric. If you're out there and you use iTunes, please make a comment on the show. And definitely give us a rating, because as soon as we get that, it really allows us to be exposed to a lot more viewers and listeners, because Apple will, of course, actually start to promote it too, because it's like, oh, that's a really cool podcast. People are really liking it. So I wish I could do it myself. I would be out there all day long making fake email addresses and giving myself fake reviews on iTunes, but we can't do that. That's just not right. So it's a plea out there. I appreciate it if you can do that. That'd be awesome. So again, everyone, thanks for watching Practical Chrome 26 Acer C720P. We hope you enjoyed it. You guys have a good night. Bye, guys.